lovely home here.
Well, we spent our lifetime.
Yes, it's a good place to be. It looks very good from the inside and from the outside.
Oh, it's serviceable anyway.
Oh, there's more than that.
So, anyway, then I moved here in November of 1906, and have been here ever since.
Very good.
And
you've seen a lot of changes.
A lot of them, yes.
A lot. Do you remember what it was? Of course, you remember what it was like farming back in those days.
Oh yes. You used horses and none of this machinery they have today. All horses and milk cows, fed pigs and sheep and all this kind of thing. And no machinery whatsoever. You had to draw your chop to a mill someplace to get your grain chopped.
Where did you usually take your...
to Priceville.
To Priceville?
Priceville. It used to be a chopping mill. The first I remember, I guess McGowan's had the first mill in Priceville, and then Watson's was next. I can't think of George Watson was his name, and then the two sons was Elmer and Welford, and they run it after the father died. And who on earth? Doll MacArthur bought it later. I can't think for the life of me. It was burnt. Whether Donald had it, whether it was burnt or not. The mill was burnt and it was rebuilt. And Donald had it then for, I guess he had it when it quit work. They used to run a sawmill and a chop mill. When McGowan's had it, they had a, I think an oatmeal mill for oatmeal that you use on the table. I think at that time, when McGowan's had it, but the others didn't have.
Three very important things.
Well, yes.
The animal feed.
Right.
And the lumber and the oatmeal porridge.
Yeah, the oatmeal porridge. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they had an oatmeal outfit there too. And that. And, I don't know where did you go from there?
Well, you mentioned traveling by horse.
Yeah, we traveled by horse all the time for years. Horse and cutter, horse and buggy, or team in a wagon, or team in a sleigh, all this kind of thing. And then I went to school at the Durham Road School. I started there and I finished there, quit there.
Do you remember your teachers?
Mrs. Billy McMillan, what was her name? Isabel Alcorn was my first teacher. And I think my last teacher was Andy Knox. Was the last teacher I had. And there was different teachers in between. I remember was it a McLeod man teacher, and there was a Greenwood man teacher. He was on Switzer. He was a dandy teacher. And there was different ones. That was the most of them that I went to, I think.
How did you get to school? You
Walked.
Didn't go by bus, I know.
No, you walked. You walked. In the morning and you walked home at night.
You didn't take a horse?
No.
Didn't ride?
No. No horse, no ride. You just walked unless somebody was going to the team in a sleigh and pick you up and give you a ride. That was the way you got there, but you walked all the time, both ways.
You've had several teams of horses.
Oh, yes, all kinds of them. A lot of horses.
The best one, do you remember? Let's talk about it.
Oh, they were all good. I don't think there was any best much to them. There were some really good ones.
And you used the horses when you were working in the bush?
Right. All the time. In the field.
All the farm work.
Done all the farm work. I should have showed you a picture there that's in the Priceful book. That's over there, where I was loading hay behind the barn.
Oh, we'll get that picture later, afterwards.
Yeah, okay. And, I don't know what about these other, we had people live by the name of McLean's on this lot and house where I was born in what would it be, 1911? 1910, 1911, and I think 1912. And in 1913 they moved away to Swamp College, to what they call the Johnson place. And they moved away on the 13th of April in 1913, on a Good Friday. And I helped them drive the cattle. I was 7-year-old at that time. And the day we took the cattle down, we got out where Bill Attridge is now, but it was cobbler mowers at that time, and the wind had taken the roof off the barn, and there were boards flying, shingles all around us, around the cattle. We were going down the road, just like a hailstorm, going down into the swamp. And we got to the Saugeen River, and we were just about on the bridge when there was a piece of ice, and I slipped and fell, and the wind blew me across. There was a railing, and there was wooden posts to hold the railing there, and I got one toe on the post to keep me from going into the river. The water's right up to the road, and I couldn't get out of there. So Jimmy, he was 3 years older than me, or 4, McLean, and he got a hold of my hand, and I gave a bit of a push on the post to get up, and it went into the river. So I was that close to going into the river.
And downriver too.
Oh yes, downriver. Yeah, the water was very high, right up to the road. We got across there, and there was a farm by the name of God, what's the name? Lanes. A wonderful bush. I guess there'd be 20 acres of it. Maple, original timber. And the wind was taking trees down just one after the other. You just hear one crack and then another. And they came across the road, different ones. And we couldn't go up the road. The cattle couldn't get up the road for the trees. And we let a fence down into Black's farm. And was it Joe Black? No. What the deuce? Geordie Fowler, what the dickens was that? Into Black's farm anyway. And drove them around the bush in their field and let them back out on the road till we get them down to Swamp College, to the Johnson farm. And then their Jim and Howard was coming with a team. The father was to come too, and they had loads on the wagons and we'd left. They had dinner here, and we went down, Jimmy and me went down and got these cattle on the road before the others hitched up the horses. And they went out here to hitch our father's team up and made them little shanties on top of the barn at that time. And there was one, when they got out about the drive shed, one went down in the field, wind took it off. So they went on and they got the team out. And just as they got them out, another shanty went down over top of the horses' heads and down into the field too. So they thought they better put them in the stable, and they said they'd better go and see if they'd catch Jimmy and me before we get away with the cattle. But they went down, we were gone. And so they followed us with their team and what they had on the wagon. But they had quite a time when they come to the trees. They had to go through the fields the same as we did. You couldn't go over them for, they'd be 3 or 4 feet high, the trees, great big maple trees. and that. So they did eventually get there. They got there before dark and stayed there that night, and then we come back the next day. And that was being 13, and then, I don't know, after that, a lot of different things happened. Nothing to do.
You worked a lot in the bush?
Oh, yes. Worked a lot in the bush. That was later on. Well, I worked in the bush from the time I was able to drive a team, and that was when I was 10-year-old. And raked hay and cut hay and all this kind of thing, and worked in the bush, cut wood, drew logs, and the likes of that. Worked on this county road when it was built. I maintained it with a team of the grader for, I don't know, till these big maintainers come on hand. I done it with a team and a team on a grader. Graded it in the spring and fall or summer, whenever it had to be done. It was just taken over from the Six Corners to, where Bill Attridge is now. It was White's at that time. Moores had sold it to White's, but I think this road was taken over in 1927. No, 37. Was it? Yeah, 37. We were married at that time. County took it over from the township in January of 1937.
Was it ever a corrugated road?
Oh, there was logs in it, yes. Yeah, and through the swamps and that, and up through these swamps up here, there was corduroy in it, lots of them.
Corduroy, yes, not corrugated. Well, they were corrugated, but
yeah.
Corduroy, yes.
They sure were. The first time that I worked with a team on the road, I was, I think, 14, and they were at a grader at the corner down here. And John Burnett was the councilman, and they had 4 teams of horses to work on this big grader. 2 teams on the tongue and 2 teams ahead. And I drove a team when I was 14 on that. Down here at the corner, we hitched on one morning at 7 o'clock.
4 horses?
8 horses. 8.
My goodness.
Yeah.
You could handle that?
Well, I just handled my own team.
Yes.
There was a man for each team.
Oh.
Two men had to walk, and 2 men rode on the grader. I happened to be one of the ones that rode on the grader. My Uncle Donald McKinnon, that was, and him, we both rode on the grader. And Jim Oliver and Bill Williamson had 2 teams on ahead, and one was in the ditch, and the other team was on the road. And they all went together. And that morning, old Don Milne, he came when I went down, and I was there, and he said, "What do you want to do?" And I said, "Well, I come down to drive a team on the grader." And he said, "When did you learn to drive?" And Donald McKinnon said, "You can drive as good as you can."
Age had nothing to do?
No. So anyway, he said, "Well, if you can, get them on the grader here and get going." So that made him mad, apparently, and he got them all hitched up together, and it was about, that'd be around 7 o'clock. And we couldn't drive to suit him, no matter what we done, whether we had them half on the ditch and half on the road or where, but he was all the time complaining that this and that, and when you go to turn around, you couldn't turn around short enough. So Don, my uncle, he said we were going down through our swamp, and there were some big logs sticking out all this further from the road, great big things, and he said we'll shut him up. And he knew what, he'd been on it before. I was green as far as I was concerned. I didn't know anything about the thing when he drive the horses. But he said to me, "Put your left leg around the springs." There were big long springs up like this. "Put your leg around that spring and get it hooked in there. And the next dog we come to, we'll settle him." So So anyway, I did, and I didn't know what was going to happen. So we got about 3 feet from it, and he yelled, "Get up out of here." And the whole 8 horses jumped and hit that log with a blader grade, and the thing upset. The grader did. There was a hinge in it, and the back end went clean over and threw McMillan into the brush pile in the swamp. But the front end stayed right side up. I didn't know anything about it, but my uncle, he knew that there was this hinge was in it, and this is what he figured he was going to do, and that's what he done. And from then on, all day you could drive how you liked. It didn't matter how you drove, he never opened his mouth. I guess he pretty near got his neck broke.
Yes, yes.
Oh,
and he knew why.
I guess he knew why. Yeah, that was that was one episode that we had. That was about the first done that I ever done on the road. I'd be 14 at that time. That'd be in 19, oh God, was I? Yes, it'd be in 1920. That's when that would be. And, oh man, so many things.
Would you be going any long distances with your team?
Well, I have went to Mount Forest and back in the day, between the day and night.
How many miles?
31 away.
A day and a night?
Yeah. It would be midnight when I get home.
And you'd start out at?
8 o'clock in the morning, or 7:30 or 8 o'clock in the morning. I load one way. And I went there, my father and me went there one time in December with 2 loads of sweet clover. And we didn't intend coming back, but these big hotel stables were so high, they were cold. And the horses were pretty warm when we got there, and put them in at 4 o'clock when we got them in the stable that afternoon. And so we took the harness off them and blankets them and fed them hay, and went to my grandparents and had our supper, and we were going to stay the night there. But we had to go back to the stable to water the horses and give them their oats and bed them, and we were going to stay the night. And the team that I was driving was pretty short in the hair, and we give them they wouldn't take any water. Didn't want that. But the barn was so cold, a great big high thing, and nothing up, and not many horses in it. It was big enough for about 50 of them, for that matter, and there was only a few horses in it. So my team was shivering, and they wouldn't take no water, so they ate their grain. And I said to my father, if they don't be any better when they get the grain to eat, I'm going to put the harness on them and go home. And he said, oh, you go, I'm going too. So anyway, they got their grain eaten. They just stood back. They didn't want to eat at all. They just stand there and shiver. So I said, well, I'm going home. We'll take the blankets off and put the harness on them. So he done the same. And we were coming out of Mount Forest when the clock was striking 9 at night. And we were home here and had them in the stable and unharnessed, and us in the house at 1 o'clock that night. And they made a trip down that morning.
You certainly came back faster than you went down.
A lot faster.
Yes.
The first few miles they really moved, for they were cold.
Mm-hmm.
They moved right along, but we made good time coming home. Well, we made about 10 miles an hour coming home, all the way. And we got home when we were in the house at 1 o'clock. Had the horse in the stable and harness off them and bedding for the night. Yeah, that'd be in about, God, that'd be about, I wouldn't be 14 at that time. Might have been 12 or something or other, 12 or 13. It's either 18 or 19. It was before the greater episode anyway, that we made that trip. And, so many things in the 20s. Going.
Any more long trips or short trips or?
Well, we went to Bates, way out to the Edge Hill, and went to Drumore to debates, took cutters. I don't know which was the first. Now, either one or the other, I don't know which. We took cutters to go to Edge Hill in the wintertime, and we took a sleigh and a team to go to Drumore to another debate. Now, that should be in, I'd say before 25, in some of them years between 20 and 25. I couldn't say just the exact year for sure. But, and we went to Markdale to one time, just with horse and cutters to, Isla, Billy Hinks's wife, whatever her name was. Isla was her first name, but what is, and they had a bunch of young people, and we had a bunch of cutters went up there one night for a bit of a program or something, played cards and one thing and another.
You mentioned debates.
Oh, yes.
Who organized those and what were they?
Well, you know what a debate is.
Yes?
Well,
it's a polite argument.
Right. Now, wait now. Alec Irwin was on Fark by the time we went to Edge Hill. I think it was through Aggie. I'm sure it was Aggie McPhail that arranged these debates.
When she was CCF?
Yeah.
Yes?
She went in and, what was it, 21? 1921? Someplace there either.
Mm-hmm.
I think it'd be in 21. And this would be, where Alec was down here, and he came here in 21. And he wasn't, it would be somewhere around the 25, and we went out to people by the, well, Johnny Russell and me, well, who in the deuce, Margaret Turner went with him, and Sadie Aller went with me. We had horse and cutters. I had a team and a cutter. And we went to people by the name of McDonald's up near Edge Hill that we had our suppers at. And Farquhar and Alec and R.J. was up near where the school was. I don't know what the people's names were where they stayed. But these McDonald's, they had supper for us, and they had a team of horses ready for us to leave our horses where they were, and they'd take the team and sleigh, and we'd all go in the sleigh up to the school and had this debate. And after the debate was over,
People's groups.
Yeah.
Through the country, clubs.
And that would be, somewhere 25, 26 in there someplace. I wouldn't know whether it'd be quite 26 or not. It mightn't have been, but somewhere's there.
And were the debates on political topics, or?
I really forget now. That's quite a while ago when I really forget what the world the debates were on. And then the Edge Hill group come back the same winter to Durham Road School. They came back, I think, in March. It was February that the bunch from here went out to Edge Hill, and then they came back with a sleigh load from Edge Hill to the Durham Road. And I can't think of what the debates now are about.
Could be anything.
Could be anything.
Farquhar Oliver would be a good one to have on your team.
Well, he was on it.
Yes.
Yes, he was on
He was
it.
a very good speaker.
And Alec was very good. He was next thing to a preacher. He did preach sometimes. I don't know whether you know Alec Irwin or not, but he came from up, where O'Neill lives up the highway. What is his name? Mike.
Yes.
Mike
yes.
O'Neill. That's where Alec was living when he come down here and bought this farm, and that's where he moved from. And he was, he was here for a few years. And he left about, he must have been about 25 they went up there for. He left, I think, maybe in 26. I'm not too absolutely sure that he did, but I think he left then. And then, who in the Sam Hill bought it? A fellow by the name of McKay's bought it. And they had it for somewhere from Well, they were burnt out in 28. So they'd be there, I guess, in 26. It must have been 26 that came. And it was a thunderstorm in March, on the 5th of March. And it struck the barn, and it burnt the barn there in the March of 28. And then he got a barn way down in Egremont, and took pieces out of it, of what he could get. And he took some out of his own bush, and got a portable sawmill down beside the creek down there, and they sawed the rest, what they didn't get out of this other barn down in Egremont.
Fire was a terrible thing.
Yep, it was so. Yeah.
No firemen.
Not then. You couldn't get in with no snow was as high as the fences.
You had yourself and your neighbors to help.
Yep, do what you could.
What started all the fires? There seems to have been a lot.
Oh, I don't know. I couldn't tell you. But that there, down here, was lightning.
Yes.
There was no doubt about that. But some of them, I have no idea what started. There was a lot of them with lightning, too, and whatnot. But I don't know what started them all. I have no idea. But they were started somehow. But I wouldn't have any idea how they were burnt.
They were a terrible thing.
Oh, yeah, I know this, and down here was a terrible thing. I was the first one there. We had one of these fire extinguishers, them stood about this high, can. I carried it down through the fields, and I was quite young at that time. I'd be, 22, I guess. And I was able to run, and I run with this fire extinguisher, and I knew the barn as well as our own. And it was up in the straw mow that it started. And if I'd had another extinguisher, I'd have had it out. The one had it pretty well beat, but it run out of juice.
Oh.
Couldn't do any more, so I run down. He was down in the stable. Arthur was getting the stock out of the stable, so I run down to help him. And we got the horses out and cattle out and a bunch of pigs out and one thing and another. And an old sow had, I think it was 7 pigs. And we got the sow out and we got 4 pigs. And that old sow, there was a drive shed there, and they kind of herding her. By this time, there was people got around, and they were helping do what they could. And anyway, this old sow got out there and got the barn. There was a big, what they used to call brass beams, a lean to it, and a big beam. Well, it had burnt, and it had fell down. Oh, big thing it was. And this darned old pig started for the fire, and I was standing with my back to her, and there was somebody else behind me too, and they had her go by the ears, and they couldn't hold her, and I didn't know what was going on, cracking fire and everything, and you didn't hear too much. And the first thing I knew, I was going for a ride to the fire on this old sow's back. Well, I had to get out of that, and I couldn't stop her, no way. There was no way I could stop her, but anyway, I got rolled off before I wouldn't be, 20 feet from the fire when I got off her back.
Too close.
Too close. It was pretty hot. And the darned old pig went in there and jumped over that stick of timber, and that was the end of her. She went in. We never seen her afterwards. She was burnt. Yeah.
Yeah, the fire, I guess, does strange things to the animals.
Yes, horses especially. They tell me I got horses out of that barn down there, but it wasn't down in where the horses were. But they tell me that if you throw a coat or something over their head, you can lead them out. But if you don't, you can't.
If they can't
see,
you can lead them.
Yeah. Now that's all I know. I led these out down here to help too. And there was no fire down in, there was a bit of smoke, but they were right handy, and we just one right after the other, and I think there was 4 of them or something we got out. That's all the horses there were, and whatever cows there were, and there was some pigs, and old boar was there too. We got him out too, but he didn't offer to go back, but this darn sow did.
Silly old sow.
Yeah, and she went into the fire.
And of course the neighbors came to help.
Oh yes, there was neighbors all over. They had to come on foot. It's the only way they could get there. Maybe some way down the south line came with a horse or something, but And my foot was about the only way. Oh, the snow was as high as the fences. And that day got so hot, the snow just fell away.
What time of year did you say it was?
5th of March.